Are you ready to practice speaking English with me? Awesome. Let's begin. What do you do? Where do you want to go? What are you doing this weekend? Could you answer those questions naturally in English? Today, you are going to practice speaking English through some of the most common conversation topics in everyday life. We will practice vocabulary, questions, sample conversations, and then you will practice speaking with me too. Over the past year, I created several Speak With Me lessons, and now they are combined together into one long English practice lesson so you can train your listening, your speaking, and your confidence. And just like always, there is also a huge free PDF worksheet with all the important vocabulary, phrases, sample sentences, and challenge questions to help you remember everything naturally. You can download it using the link in the description. All right, let's jump in. Our first topic is weekend plans. And before anything else, I want to teach you the most important conversation question in English, at least according to me. Is it, what's your name? No. Is it, can you give me money? Definitely not. Is it, do you love me? Nope. The most important conversation question is, what about you? Or, how about you? These two expressions are powerful because conversations are like throwing a ball back and forth. Someone asks you, what are you doing this weekend? Now the ball is in your hands. You answer, I'm going hiking, or I'm staying home. But then what happens? Awkward silence? Maybe, unless you throw the ball back. That is exactly what these expressions do. What about you? How about you? You are asking the same question back to the other person. For example, what are you doing this weekend? I'm meeting some friends for brunch. How about you? Natural, smooth, friendly. So remember these expressions carefully. You are going to use them later. Now, let's look at some common vocabulary for talking about weekend plans. First, brunch. Americans love brunch. Brunch is a mix of breakfast and lunch. Usually, people eat brunch between late morning and early afternoon, maybe around 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And brunch is usually social. People meet friends, talk for a long time, drink coffee or maybe mimosas, and eat breakfast-style food slowly. For example, my friends and I are meeting at our favorite brunch spot on Sunday. Great. Now let's talk about another expression, a social butterfly. A social butterfly is someone who is always busy socially, always making plans, always meeting people, always going somewhere, like a butterfly flying from place to place. For example, my friend is a social butterfly. She has plans every single weekend. Maybe brunch, maybe parties, maybe afternoon tea, maybe concerts. Always something. And honestly, for social butterflies, lockdowns were probably difficult because they love being around people constantly. Now, what is the opposite of a social butterfly? A homebody. A homebody loves staying home. They feel happiest, most comfortable, and most relaxed at home. For example, my friend loves going out, but I'm more of a homebody. Maybe you prefer small gatherings, quiet evenings, movies at home, tea, books, games with close friends. Honestly, the older some people get, the more they become homebodies. And there is another useful expression, to stay in. This simply means to stay home. For example, it's supposed to rain this weekend, so I'm just going to stay in. Maybe you read a book, watch movies, cook something. Relax. You are staying in. Now let's talk about another very common expression, to binge watch. This means watching many episodes or movies back to back without stopping for hours. For example, we binge watched an entire TV series last weekend. Or, I binge watched all the Star Wars movies. Usually, this means a lot of watching. And finally, one more important expression, to catch up on chores. This is extremely common. To catch up on something means you delayed doing something and now you finally need to do it. Maybe laundry, cleaning, dishes, yard work, repairs. For example, I was busy all week, so this weekend I need to catch up on chores. Not always fun, but honestly, a clean house feels amazing afterward. Now let's practice some common weekend questions. The first one is, what are you up to this weekend? Very natural, very common. But native speakers usually reduce it. Instead of saying, what are you up to this weekend? You often hear, what are you up to this weekend? Or even faster, what you up to this weekend? Very reduced, very fast, very spoken. What you up to this weekend? That simply means, what are you doing this weekend? Now, another question. What have you got going on this weekend? Again, very common, but in fast-spoken English, it often sounds like, what have you got going on this weekend? Or even faster, what do you got going on this weekend? A lot of reductions happen there. Very common in spoken American English. And another casual question is, you doing anything fun this weekend? Notice something important. The word are completely disappears. Not, are you doing anything fun, just, you doing anything fun this weekend? Or faster, you doing anything fun this weekend? Very casual, very conversational. Now, if someone tells you their plans, how can you respond? Maybe, that sounds fun, or nice, or that sounds interesting. And if someone says they are doing absolutely nothing, you could say, honestly, sometimes it's nice to do nothing, because sometimes rest is exactly what people need. Now, let's listen to a quick sample conversation. Hey, what you up to this weekend? Nothing much. I'm staying in Saturday and catching up on chores. But on Sunday, I'm meeting some friends for brunch. Oh, nice. Where do you usually go? We usually go to Sunny Morning Café. How about you? What do you got going on this weekend? I'm a homebody, so I'll probably stay home and read in my hammock. That sounds relaxing. Have a good weekend. Thanks. You too. Now it's your turn. I'm going to ask you a question, and during the pause, I want you to answer out loud. Ready? Hey, what you up to this weekend?
Nice job. Now let's move on to another super common conversation topic, food. Restaurants, takeout, lunch plans, because honestly, people talk about food constantly, and if you can comfortably discuss where to eat, what to order, and what sounds good, your English conversations become much easier. So let's begin with some common restaurant questions. The first one is, do you want to eat out? This phrasal verb, to eat out, means to eat at a restaurant. Native speakers use this all the time. Not usually, do you want to go to a restaurant? Instead, do you want to eat out? But in casual spoken English, this gets reduced a lot. For example, you want to eat out? Notice what happened. Do disappeared. You became ya. Want to became wanna. Very natural reduction. You want to eat out? Or even shorter. Want to eat out? Simple, quick, very conversational. Now let's continue. Another common question is, where do you want to go? But naturally, you will often hear, where you want to go. Again, you becomes ya. Want to becomes wanna. Where you want to go. Very natural spoken English. Now, because many restaurants offer takeout, this next question is extremely useful. Should we order pickup? Or maybe, should we order takeout? You might also hear carry-out or takeaway, depending on the region. All of these mean you order food, but you eat somewhere else, maybe at home, maybe in a park, maybe in your car. Now here's another great question. What are you in the mood for? This means what kind of food do you feel like eating? Maybe comfort food, maybe sushi, maybe tacos, maybe something light, maybe something spicy. And naturally, this question often becomes reduced. Instead of, what are you in the mood for? You may hear, what you in the mood for? Or even, what you in the mood for? Very reduced, very fast, very spoken. What you in the mood for? Now, let's practice some common answers. You might say, let's order in. How about pizza? To order in means you order food to your house, and how about is a great way to make suggestions. For example, how about tacos? How about sushi? How about pasta? Very natural. Sometimes how about becomes reduced too. How about pizza? Quick, smooth, conversational. Or maybe you say, I'm feeling tacos. Does that sound good? Very natural expression. I'm feeling tacos, meaning that is what I want to eat. And in fast spoken English, does that sound good often becomes, how's that sound? Or, is that sound okay? Very casual, very common. Now, because restaurant schedules change, especially recently, you may ask, is Ted's Café open? And then say, I'd love to go there. Notice I would became I'd. Very common contraction. I'd love to go there. Now let's talk about another really useful expression. Let's grab a bite. To grab a bite means to eat something quickly, usually not a long dinner, not a fancy event, just a quick meal. For example, let's grab a bite before the movie. Let's grab a bite after work. Very natural expression. And finally, another useful phrase, I know a place. This means you know a good restaurant, usually one that maybe not everyone knows about. For example, oh, I know a place that has amazing pasta. Or, I know a little cafe with great coffee. This makes conversations feel warm, friendly, and natural. Now, let's listen to a sample conversation. Hey, you want to grab lunch? Sure, but I only have time for a quick bite before my soccer game. What sounds good? How about pasta? That sounds great. How about I call it in, you pick it up, and we eat in the park? Perfect. I know a place nearby with amazing tomato sauce. Nice. Now it's your turn. I'm going to ask you a question, and during the pause, answer out loud. Ready? Hey, I'm hungry. What you in the mood for? Great job! Now let's talk about another really common conversation topic. Vacations, travel plans, summer trips. Because people love asking questions like, are you traveling this summer? Where are you headed? Got any vacation plans? So let's practice how to answer naturally. The first question is, do you have plans to go anywhere this summer? Very clear, very natural. But in spoken English, people often reduce it. For example, where you going this summer? Notice the reductions. You becomes ya. Going becomes going. Very common. Where you going this summer? Another common question is, what you got going on this summer? This simply means, what are your plans this summer? Again, lots of reductions. Whatcha means, what are you? And going loses the final G. What you got going on this summer? Very casual, very natural. Now, another question. You doing anything fun for vacation? Notice again, the word are completely disappears. Not, are you doing anything fun? Instead,
you doing anything fun? Or even faster, you doing anything fun? Native speakers reduce constantly in casual speech. That is why spoken English sometimes feels fast. Words connect, sounds disappear, everything flows together. Now, let's look at another useful question. Where are you headed for vacation? This uses the verb headed. If you are headed somewhere, you are going in that direction. For example, I'm headed to the store. We're headed to the mountains. Where are you headed this summer? Very common, very useful. And before we continue, remember the most important conversation question. How about you? Or what about you? Because after answering, you need to throw the conversation back to the other person. For example, I'm staying home this summer. How about you? Natural conversation flow. Now, let's practice some common vacation answers. A very useful structure is I'd like to, but. This lets you compare your ideal plan with reality. For example, I'd like to go to Europe, but I think I'll take a road trip instead. Or, I'd like to go to a family reunion, but we had to postpone it. Very natural structure. Another useful phrase is, I wish I could, but. For example, I wish I could go on a cruise, but cruises aren't happening right now. Or, I wish I could go to a music festival, but it got canceled. Again, you express the dream first, then reality second. Now, another really useful structure. I was going to. This describes a real plan that changed. For example, I was going to visit New York, but I think we'll go camping instead. Or, I was going to backpack across Italy, but now I'm staying home. Very common, very useful for talking about changed plans. Now, let's listen to a sample conversation. Hey, you doing anything fun this summer? Well, I was going to go backpacking in Europe, but now I think I'll just go camping in some local parks. What about you? I was going to visit family in Florida, but the reunion got canceled, so now I'm planning an outdoor movie night instead. That sounds fun. Text me the details. Definitely. See you there. Nice. Now, your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? Hey, you doing anything fun this summer?
Excellent. Now let's talk about another extremely common topic, your city, your hometown, the place where you live. Because people often ask questions like, where are you from? What's it like there? What should I see if I visit? So let's practice some useful vocabulary first. If your city is very active, busy, and full of people, you might describe it as busy or crowded. For example, New York is really crowded. There are people everywhere. Very natural. But maybe your city feels calmer, more peaceful, more quiet. You might say, it's really relaxing here, or it's a quiet place. Now, let's talk about two important expressions, urban area and the country. An urban area means a city, busy streets, lots of buildings, traffic, noise. But if you live surrounded by nature, far from the city, you might say, I live in the country. In American English, the country often means countryside, maybe farms, forests, mountains, quiet roads, nature. Now, here's another useful expression, off the beaten path. This describes a place that is not very touristy, not crowded with visitors, maybe a hidden location that locals know about. For example, there's a cafe off the beaten path that locals love. Or, my city is off the beaten path, but it's worth visiting. Very useful expression. Now let's look at another common phrase, up and coming. If a place is up and coming, it means it is becoming more popular. Maybe it was unknown before, but now more people are discovering it. For example, this neighborhood is really up and coming, or my city is becoming an up and coming destination. Very common expression. And finally, must see. A must see is a place you absolutely should visit. For example, the pyramids are a must see. The Eiffel Tower is a must see. Or maybe even this mountain view is a must see. It does not have to be famous worldwide. It can simply be something special in your city. Now let's practice some common questions. The first one is, where are you from? Very common. And instead of giving a short answer, you can add details. For example, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. It's pretty quiet, but it's becoming more popular. Now another useful question, what's it like there? This means describe your city, maybe the weather, the atmosphere, the people. For example, it's really crowded in the summer, or it's very peaceful and relaxing. Now another common question, what's the weather like there? Very useful. Maybe you say, the winters are freezing, or the summers are really humid, or spring is beautiful there. Now another important question, when's the best time to visit? People ask this constantly, especially before traveling. For example, the best time to visit is during the fall because the leaves are beautiful, or spring is perfect because the flowers bloom. Now another question, what's your city known for? This means, what is your city famous for? Maybe food, architecture, museums, nature, history. For example, my city is known for seafood, or it's known for music festivals. Now, another really useful question. What's your favorite thing to do there? This question feels personal, not just tourist information, real local advice. Maybe you say, my favorite thing to do is walk around the old neighborhood, or there's a little bar off the beaten path that I love. And finally, another super useful question, what do you recommend? Very flexible, very natural. You can ask this anywhere. What do you recommend in Rome? What do you recommend in New York? What do you recommend in your city? Excellent conversation question. Now let's listen to a sample conversation. Hey Dan, I'm excited for my trip to Rome. That's awesome. Any places you want to visit? Definitely. But are there any tourist traps I should avoid? Yeah, avoid the expensive gelato shops near the tourist areas. But I know a place off the beaten path that's amazing. Oh, nice. Any must-sees? The Colosseum, of course, but honestly, my favorite thing is just wandering around the smaller streets. That sounds perfect. Thanks for the recommendation. No problem. Enjoy your trip. Great. Now your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? Hey, I'm planning a trip to your city. What's the weather like there during the summer?
Nice work! Now let's move on to another fun topic. Birthdays, parties, celebrations. Because birthdays create a lot of natural conversations in English. People ask, any birthday plans? What are you doing for your birthday? Can I bring anything? So let's learn some useful birthday vocabulary. First, a birthday bash. A birthday bash is a big birthday party. Lots of people, lots of food, lots of decorations, lots of energy. For example, we're throwing a birthday bash for my niece. Now, notice another expression there, to throw a party. This simply means to organize a party, not literally throw it. For example, we're throwing a party for my grandma's birthday. Very common expression. But maybe you prefer something smaller, more relaxed, more intimate. Then you might say a gathering or a get-together. These describe smaller social events, just a few friends, close family, relaxed atmosphere. For example, we're just having a small get-together at home. Very natural. Now, another classic birthday expression, a surprise party. A surprise party means the birthday person does not know about the party. Everyone hides, the person arrives, and suddenly everyone shouts, "Surprise!" Now let's look at some common birthday phrases. First, RSVP. You often see this on invitations. It comes from French and means please respond. Basically, tell me if you are coming. For example, RSVP by June 30th. Simple, very common.
Now another phrase, BYOB. This means bring your own beer or bring your own booze, meaning the host is not providing alcohol. Guests should bring their own drinks. For example, dinner and take provided, BYOB. Very common on invitations. Now, another fun expression, make a wish. After someone blows out birthday candles, people often say, make a wish. Usually, you keep the wish secret. That is part of the tradition. Now let's talk about a goodie bag. A goodie bag is usually a small bag of gifts given to children at birthday parties. Candy, small toys, little prizes, mostly at children's parties. Now another common phrase, Sweet 16. This refers to a 16th birthday celebration, usually a big celebration for teenage girls. And another major birthday in the US is turning 21, because at 21, people can legally drink alcohol. Now let's talk about another expression, over the hill. This phrase jokingly describes someone over 40 years old. The idea is you reached the top of the hill and now you're going down the other side. A little dramatic, a little silly, but very common. And finally, a trip around the sun. This is a fun way to say another birthday, another year alive. For example, congratulations on another trip around the sun. Now let's practice some common birthday questions. Any plans for your birthday? You might answer, yeah, we're planning a big birthday bash, or we're just having a small gathering. Another question, what do you want to do for your birthday? Maybe, I just want a quiet dinner with friends. Now another useful phrase, a little bird told me it's your birthday. This means someone secretly told me. Very common expression. And if someone asks, what would you like for your birthday? You could answer, honestly, just bring food or drinks. Now, another important question, is it a surprise party? Very useful, especially so you do not accidentally ruin the surprise. And finally, a super useful question, can I bring anything? This is polite, helpful, very common in American culture. Maybe the host says, could you bring dessert? Or bring your favorite board game. Now let's listen to a sample conversation. Hey Dan, you have a birthday coming up, don't you? Yep, another trip around the sun. Do you have any plans? Yeah, I'm throwing a big birthday bash. You should come. That sounds fun. Can I bring anything? Bring your favorite game and a big appetite for cake. Perfect, I'll be there. Great. Now your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? Hey, a little bird told me your birthday is coming up. Do you have any plans? Great job. Now let's talk about another topic people love discussing. Pets. Animals. Because honestly, people love talking about their pets. Sometimes even more than talking about themselves. So let's start with some useful vocabulary. First, animal lover. If you are an animal lover, you love animals in general. Cats, dogs, birds, horses, anything. For example, I've been an animal lover since I was a child. Very natural. Now another common expression, cat person or dog person. This means which animal you prefer. For example, I'm definitely a cat person, or my brother is a dog person. Very common expression. Now, what if you cannot have pets because they make you sick? Then you might say, I'm allergic to cats, or I'm allergic to dog fur. Maybe your eyes get red, maybe you sneeze, maybe your throat hurts. That means you are allergic. Now let's talk about something important in English. When native speakers talk about pets, they usually use he or she, not it. For example, she's really playful, or he loves going outside. Using it can sound cold or distant when talking about pets, because people often think of pets like family members. Now let's learn another useful word, breed. A breed is a type of dog or cat. For example, what breed is your dog? Or more casually, what kind is it? Maybe he's a golden retriever, or she's a Siamese cat. Very common question. Now another important word, rescue. A rescue animal comes from a shelter. Usually, the animal was abandoned or needed a home. For example, my cats are rescues, or we adopted our dog from a shelter. And native speakers often use the verb adopt instead of buy. Now another word, mutt. This is only used for dogs. A mutt is a mixed breed dog, not a pure breed. For example, he's a mutt, but he's the sweetest dog ever. Very casual word. Now let's practice some common pet questions. First, do you have any pets? Very simple, very common. You could answer, yeah, I have 2 rescue cats. Or, I have a dog and a turtle. Now another question, what kind is it? Meaning, what breed? For example, she's a Siamese cat, or he's a lab mix. Now another common question, what's your pet's name? And people love answering this question. Pet owners are always ready to talk about their animals. Now another useful question, how old is your pet? Maybe, she's 3 years old, or he's almost 10. Now another important question, is your pet friendly? Especially useful if you are visiting someone's house. Maybe they answer, oh yeah, he loves people, or she's shy at first. Very common. Now another question, does your pet get along with other animals? To get along means to have a good relationship. For example, my dog gets along great with cats, or my cat hates other animals. Very natural expression. Now let's listen to a sample conversation. Hey Vanessa, do you have any pets? Yeah, I have 2 rescue cats. Oh nice. What kind are they? They're Siamese mixes. Cute. Are they friendly? One is super friendly. The other one hides whenever guests come over. That sounds like my dog. What kind of dog do you have? He's a mutt, but honestly, he's the best dog ever. Very natural conversation. Now, your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? Hey, do you have any pets? Awesome. Now let's move on to another extremely common topic, work, jobs, careers, because when meeting new people, one of the first questions they often ask is, what do you do? And no, they are not asking, what are you doing right now? They mean, what is your job? So let's practice some useful vocabulary and questions. First, if someone asks, what do you do? You could answer simply, I'm a teacher. I work in marketing. I'm an engineer. I am a student. Simple answers are perfectly natural. Now, let's look at another common question. Where do you work? For example, I work at a hospital, or I work for a software company. Notice something important. We usually say work at for a place and work for a company or organization. Very common. Now another useful question. How long have you worked there? This uses present perfect. For example, I've worked there for 5 years, or I just started last month. Now another common expression, full-time. This means a regular work schedule, usually around 40 hours a week. You might say, I work full-time. The opposite is part-time, maybe evenings, weekends, fewer hours. For example, I'm working part-time while I study. Now another useful phrase, work from home. This became extremely common recently. For example, I work from home now, or my company switched to remote work. Very common modern vocabulary. Now let's learn another useful expression, a side hustle. A side hustle is extra work you do outside your main job. Maybe freelancing, selling products online, teaching lessons, creating content. For example, I started a side hustle during the pandemic. Very modern expression. Now, another useful phrase, burned out. If someone feels burned out, they feel emotionally exhausted from too much work. For example, I was working non-stop and started feeling burned out. Very common phrase. Now, let's practice some common work questions. What do you do? Again, meaning, what is your profession? Now another question. Do you like your job? Very common small talk question. Maybe you answer, yeah, it's stressful sometimes, but I enjoy it. Or, honestly, I'm thinking about changing careers. Very natural response. Now, another useful question. What's your favorite part of your job? Maybe, I like helping people. Or, I love working with students. Now, another question. What's the most stressful part? Maybe, the schedule is exhausting. Or, there are too many meetings. Very natural conversation topics. Now, another common question. What did you want to be when you were younger? People ask this all the time. Maybe, I wanted to be a musician, or I dreamed of becoming a pilot. Very conversational. Now, let's listen to a sample conversation. So, what do you do? I'm an English teacher. I teach online classes. Oh, nice. Do you enjoy it? Yeah, I really like helping students gain confidence. That's awesome. Do you work from home? I do. I actually started teaching remotely a few years ago. That sounds flexible. It definitely has advantages. Very natural, very realistic. Now, your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? So, what do you do? Great job! Now, let's talk about another topic people love discussing. Pets. Animals. Because, honestly, people love talking about their pets, sometimes even more than talking about themselves. So, let's start with some useful vocabulary. First, animal lover. If you are an animal lover, you love animals in general. Cats, dogs, birds, horses, anything. For example, I've been an animal lover since I was a child. Very natural. Now, another common expression, cat person or dog person. This means which animal you prefer. For example, I'm definitely a cat person, or my brother is a dog person. Very common expression. Now, what if you cannot have pets because they make you sick? Then you might say, I'm allergic to cats, or I'm allergic to dog fur. Maybe your eyes get red, maybe you sneeze, maybe your throat hurts. That means you are allergic. Now, let's talk about something important in English. When native speakers talk about pets, they usually use he or she, not it. For example, she's really playful, or he loves going outside. Using it can sound cold or distant when talking about pets, because people often think of pets like family members. Now, let's learn another useful word, breed. A breed is a type of dog or cat. For example, what breed is your dog? Or, more casually, what kind is it? Maybe he's a golden retriever, or she's a Siamese cat. Very common question. Now, another important word, rescue. A rescue animal comes from a shelter. Usually, the animal was abandoned or needed a home. For example, my cats are rescues, or we adopted our dog from a shelter. And native speakers often use the verb adopt instead of buy. Now, another word, mutt. This is only used for dogs. A mutt is a mixed breed dog, not a pure breed. For example, he's a mutt, but he's the sweetest dog ever. Very common casual word. Now, let's practice some common pet questions. First, do you have any pets? Very simple, very common. You could answer, yeah, I have 2 rescue cats. Or, I have a dog and a turtle. Now, another question, what kind is it? Meaning, what breed? For example, she's a Siamese cat. Or, he's a lab mix. Now, another common question, what's your pet's name? And people love answering this question. Pet owners are always ready to talk about their animals. Now, another useful question, how old is your pet? Maybe she's 3 years old, or he's almost 10. Now, another important question, is your pet friendly? especially useful if you are visiting someone's house. Maybe they answer, "Oh yeah, he loves people," or "she's shy at first." Very common. Now, another question, does your pet get along with other animals? To get along means to have a good relationship. For example, my dog gets along great with cats, or my cat hates other animals. Very natural expression. Now, let's listen to a sample conversation. "Hey, Vanessa, do you have any pets?" "Yeah, I have 2 rescue cats." "Oh, nice. What kind are they?" "They're Siamese mixes." "Cute. Are they friendly?" "One is super friendly. The other one hides whenever guests come over." "That sounds like my dog. What kind of dog do you have?" "He's a mutt, but honestly, he's the best dog ever." Very natural conversation. Now, your turn. Answer out loud during the pause. Ready? "Hey, do you have any pets?"
Excellent work. You made it all the way through this lesson, and honestly, that already matters a lot, because listening consistently, repeating consistently, and speaking out loud regularly is exactly how fluency improves, little by little, step by step. Now, before we finish, let's review some of the expressions you practiced today. You learned, "What about you?" "How about you?" 2 of the most important expressions for keeping conversations going naturally. You practiced talking about weekend plans, restaurants, vacations, cities, birthday parties, pets, and jobs. These are real conversation topics, topics people use every day. And the more you practice real-life English, the more comfortable speaking becomes. Not instantly, but naturally, gradually. And remember, spoken English is not always perfect. Native speakers reduce words constantly. For example, "What you up to?" "You want to eat out?" "Where you headed?" "You doing anything fun?" At first, these reductions can sound confusing, but the more immersion you get, the more natural they become. Your ears adapt, your brain adapts, and eventually you stop translating every word. You simply understand. That is the goal. Not perfect grammar memorization, real understanding, real communication. And honestly, confidence grows through repetition, not through waiting. A lot of learners think, "I'll speak English once I feel confident," but usually confidence appears after practice, after repetition, after making mistakes, after surviving awkward moments. That is how growth works. So please, do not be afraid to sound imperfect. Imperfect speaking is still real communication, and real communication always matters more than perfection. Now, let's do one final speaking round together. I'll ask a few questions, and during the pauses, answer out loud naturally. Do not overthink. Just speak. Ready? What are you up to this weekend? What kind of food are you in the mood for today? Are you doing anything fun this summer? What is your hometown known for? Do you have any pets? What do you do for work? Very nice. And remember, even if your answers felt slow or imperfect or awkward, you are still improving. Every sentence helps. Every repetition matters. Every lesson builds fluency, even on days when progress feels invisible. So keep listening, keep shadowing, keep speaking English out loud, even quietly, even for a few minutes a day. Consistency changes everything. And most importantly, try to enjoy the process, because language learning is not only study, it is connection, it is confidence, it is growth. And step by step, English starts becoming part of your real life. Thank you for practicing with me today. Take care, keep going, and I'll see you in the next lesson.